Príjemný dobrý deň a vítame vás na festivale CEZ Přes, práh. Tento ročník netradične. Vítam medzi nami teda Ninu Galanskú, riaditeľku Nadácie Milana Šimečku. Vítaj.
Ďakujem.
A takisto výkonného riaditeľa medzinárodnej organizácie ICORN Helge Lundeho, ktorý sa pripája teda z norského Stavangeru. Hello, Helge.
Hello, thank you very much.
Bytový festival CEZ PRAH, teda jeho 4. ročník, sa kvôli prebiehajúcej pandémii koná tentokrát online. My vás teda vítame takisto z improvizovaného bytu na Štefánikovej 16, kde sa v minulých ročníkoch takisto festival odohral. Takou hlavnou myšlienkou festivalu bolo od začiatku si pripomenúť byty ako kultúrne inštitúcie, ktoré zohrávali túto úlohu v minulom storočí, v 70. a 80. rokoch, keď sa na bytoch stretávali intelektuáli, umelci a organizovali rôzne semináre, ale takisto sa premiérovali a hrali divadelné hry, uskutočňovali koncerty, výstavy. Ale takisto fenomén nejakého bytového festivalu alebo bytu ako kultúrnej inštitúcie sa v posledných rokoch rozmohol takisto aj mimo tej možno pôvodnej funkcie a na bytoch sa pravidelne konajú koncerty, takisto výstavy a rôzne kultúrne podujatia. My sme počas tohto festivalu buď sa snažili spojiť už jestvujúce byty a bytové inštitúcie, alebo dokonca našli nových odvážlivcov, ktorí pustili do svojich bytov návštevníkov a organizovali sme tam v takej komornej, intimnej atmosfére tento festival. Tento ročník je samozrejme výnimočný, ale neubudlo, tak ako možno v prípade iných, keď koncert sa asi nemôže diať na pôvodnom mieste. My však toto miesto nemusíme meniť, pretože vlastne takmer všetci naši dnešní účastníci a účastníčky sa budú k vám prihovárať práve z bytov. Program je naozaj bohatý, asi 8-hodinový. Privítame hostí a hostky, ktorí priamo súvisia s témou festivalu, ktorou je Deň väznených spisovateľov. A tento deň je práve dnes, 15. novembra, si už od 80. rokov minulého storočia pripomíname Deň väznených spisovateľov. S touto iniciatívou prišiel americký, alebo teda medzinárodný klub Klub, čo je spisovateľská organizácia, a ktorá každoročne sa zameriava na väznených spisovateľov, pretože bohužiaľ tento fenomén z dnešného sveta nezmizol. Súčasťou teda festivalu toho ročného bude rozhovor povedzme so spisovateľom Jánom Novákom, či si pripomenieme možno úlohu žien v Disente, formou knižky Jak ženy delali Disent. Takisto to bude divadelná hra Václava Havla, ktorý bol najväčší a najznámejší predstaviteľ práve alebo s touto témou sa priamo súvisí. Jeho hry boli takisto uvádzané na bytoch. A dnešok uzavrieme záznamom koncertu Bez ľadu a skladu a takisto s diskusiou s frontmanom Michalom Kaščákom. Súčasťou tohoročného festivalu je aj zahájenie spolupráce s medzinárodnou organizáciou ICORN, teda International Cities of Refugee Network, vďaka ktorej sa Bratislava zaradí na mapu poskytovateľov útočiska pre prenasledovaných autorov a autorky z celého sveta. Tento rok sa venujeme téme prenasledovaných umelcov pri príležitosti práve spomínaného Dňa väznených spisovateľov.
Áno, jedným z takýchto spisovateľov je aj, ale bol Milan Šimečka. A pre nás je tento rok takým symbolickým rokom Milana Šimečku, keďže by oslávil jednak svoje 90-tiny a jednak by oslávil aj, uplynulo 30 rokov od jeho úmrtia. Milan bol disidentom, filozofom, spisovateľom, poradcom Václava Havla až do svojej tragickej smrti v septembri 1990. Keďže Milan bol v 80. rokoch väzneným spisovateľom za svoju tvorbu, za svoje eseje, ktoré vlastne vychádzali v samizdatoch a boli preložené do viacerých jazykov, tak sme si povedali, že súčasťou festivalu bude takisto jeden z programov, ako keby, že podsta Milanovi Šimečkovi, čo je diskusia so Šimečkom o Šimečkovi vo večerných hodinách. Milan Šimečka vo svojej eseji v rámci kruhovej obrany píše, že je mu ľúto, že sa Československo nezaradilo medzi krajiny, v ktorých by ľudia žiadali azyl, čo sa týka ešte jeho času, keď to písal v 80. rokoch. A preto sme radi, že v 30 rokov po jeho smrti sa situácia na Slovensku zmenila, ale stále však žijeme vo svete, ako už aj František spomenul, kde sú ľudia prenasledovaní z rôznych dôvodov aj pre svoju tvorbu. No a takýchto ľudí a mestá, ktoré sú ochotné poskytnúť útočisko, tak združuje medzinárodná sieť ICORN, teda International Cities of Refuge Network, ktorej súčasťou, respektíve výkonným riaditeľom je Helge Lunde. A sme radi, že na festivale Přes, práh môžeme odštartovať náš dvojročný projekt MK, teda podpora migrantov prostredníctvom kultúrnych aktivít, ktorého ústrednou aktivitou bude rezidencia prenasledovaného autorky v Bratislave. Projekt je financovaný z grantov Európskeho hospodárskeho priestoru a štátneho rozpočtu Slovenskej republiky. No a o samotnom ICORNe sa však viac porozprávame práve s jej riaditeľom Helgem Lundem.
Hello Helge, it's a pleasure to have you here. Ja budem teda klásť otázky, bude to teda bilingválne. Ja položím otázku teda po slovensky, následne ju preložím do angličtiny a Nina bude práve viesť s Helgem rozhovor. So hello Helge, my first question will be who are the members of ICORN? What is the role of the city which is a member, and what are the benefits of being a part of ICORN? And what do you think, why the cities become a member? Takže kto sú vlastne členovia ICORNu, aká je úloha mesta, ktoré sa zapojí do členstvom do tejto organizácie, možno aké výhody plynú z toho, ak je mesto teda súčasťou tejto medzinárodnej siete a prečo si teda Helge myslí, že je dôležité stať sa členom. Možno vyriešime technické záležitosti. Helge, have you heard the questions? Not really.
No, there was no sound, but now you're back again, so you have to repeat.
All right. So I'll just repeat the question. I think we heard the question I asked. So who are the members of ICORN? What is the role of the city, which is a member? What are the benefits of being part of ICORN, and why the cities become members?
Sorry, just a second. Mm-hmm. Can you please repeat it once more, because there was a break. So please only one time more, please.
Yeah. So who are the members of ICORN?
The members of ICORN are cities in Europe and also all over the world. We are started with 15 cities back in 2006, but now the network has grown to more than 70 cities that are protecting and promoting persecuted writers.
Okay.
Takže väčšina miest je po celom svete, hlavne v Európe. Začali s 15 mestami, ale narastli vlastne až na 70 miest v súčasnosti.
Helge, what is the role of the city which is a member? Aká je úloha mesta, ktoré je členom?
The cities that are becoming members of ICORN, they commit themselves to protect and promote a persecuted writer, a writer that cannot speak and think and act freely in their home country. So the cities that are joining ICORN, they will have to, they will invite a persecuted writer, they will have to find a flat, a place where this writer can stay. They have to take care of the survival costs for the writer and the artist, and they have to include the writer and the artist in the local community in the cities. That is the kind of the core issue for the member cities. But at the same time, the city commits themselves to the values of human rights, freedom of expression, hospitality and solidarity.
Thank you.
Takže Helge hovorí, že úloha mesta je práve poskytnúť priestor pre autora, ktorý v rámci svojej domácej krajiny, teda krajiny, odkiaľ pochádza, nemôže slobodne tvoriť a je prenasledovaný, nemá vlastne slobodu prejavu. A mesto poskytuje ochranu a podporu tomuto autorovi a autorke a snaží sa ho zapojiť do lokálnej komunity, ako mu aj poskytnúť teda miesto na žitie a tvorbu, čo je vlastne ako keby rezidencia práve tohto autora. Samozrejme mesta takisto sa snažia ako keby, že propagovať hodnoty ICORN, a to je ľudské práva, sloboda prejavu, solidarita a pohostinnosť.
Možno je takisto dôležité zapojiť toho umelca
Samozrejme.
do života, možno do toho pôvodného povolania, ktoré viedol. Helge, what do you think are the benefits of being part of ICORN? Aké si myslíte, že sú výhody toho, keď ste členom ICORNu?
I think the most important thing maybe to become a member of ICORN, the most important issue is that the city can show to themselves, to their inhabitants, but also to the world, that the city takes the values of human rights and freedom of expression seriously. I think the cities have an increasingly important role to play in today's world, and I think by showing concrete solidarity with one persecuted writer or artist, they can really show to themselves and to the world that they take these values seriously. If you allow me, I will just read what the mayor of Paris says. What he see the benefit for Paris to be a member of ICORN. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. I will just translate.
Yeah.
Helge, I will just translate. So, takže mesto sa vlastne môže takto prostredníctvom zapojenia sa do ICORN siete a hosťovaním autora ukázať aj voči svojim obyvateľom aj voči svetu, že podporuje práve tieto hodnoty, ako sú ľudské práva a sloboda prejavu, a že tieto hodnoty berie vážne. A jedným z, ako vlastne je to pre mesta podporné a podstatné, hovorí výrok starostky, respektíve primátorky mesta Paríž, ktorý momentálne Helge predstaví.
Shall I just read? Mayor Hidalgo of Paris says, throughout the 20th century, the city of Paris has been host to exiles from around the world, for intellectuals and artists. The values of human rights and freedom of expression is at the core of the international strategy of our city. Being a part of ICORN, hosting writers, journalists, and artists at risk, is both a very concrete and an important symbolic fulfillment of our commitment. I think this is the last thing here is very important. It's both a very concrete and an important symbolic fulfillment of the commitment of the city.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, we will translate it.
Takže počas 20. storočia bolo mesto Paríž hostiteľom vyhnancov z celého sveta, intelektuálov, umelcov. Hodnoty ľudských práv a slobody prejavu sú ústredným prvkom medzinárodnej stratégie nášho mesta a byť súčasťou ICORNu, hosťovať spisovateľov, novinárky, umelkyne v ohrození je veľmi konkrétne a dôležité symbolické plnenie nášho záväzku. Helge hovorí, že toto je veľmi podstatné. Je to veľmi konkrétne, dôležité symbolické plnenie nášho záväzku.
Helge, could you tell us maybe who are the ICORN residents? How many are they and how can they apply? Čiže Helge, ak by ste nám vedeli povedať, že kto sú teda rezidenti ICORNu, koľko možno ich je a ako môžu žiadať vlastne o rezidenciu.
Yes, thank you. Any writer, be it fiction, non-fiction, or journalist, or artist, musician, visual artist, or any, can apply to ICORN when they are persecuted because of their work. This year, we expect 150 applications to come in from persecuted writers and artists. We cannot place all of them, but since ICORN started, we have placed approximately 250 persecuted writers and artists around. They have found refuge in the ICORN cities since we started. I just mentioned a few of them. The Belarusian Nobel Prize winner Svetlana Alexievich, she was an ICORN writer in Gothenburg a long time ago, but that was also an important period for her. The Turkish writer Asli Erdogan was an ICORN guest writer in Krakow, very importantly, and then she traveled home, was imprisoned, but then she continued, and then she was hosted in Frankfurt. And Moroccan Zineb Al-Razzoui was protected in Ljubljana as an ICORN writer just before she started to work with Charlie Hebdo. She survived, luckily, the attack in 2015. Thank you.
Áno, takže čo sa týka autorov, tak každý autor, či už je to spisovateľ, napríklad píše beletriu, literatúry faktu, alebo je to novinár, novinárka, alebo umelec, umelkyňa, sa môže prihlásiť, ak sú kvôli svojej tvorbe prenasledovaní vo svojej krajine. Tento rok očakáva ICORN 150 žiadostí od jednotlivých ľudí. Samozrejme nevedia umiestniť každého. A od svojho vzniku ICORN už umiestnil 250 ľudí do rôznych miest po celom svete. A našli napríklad útočisko v rámci ICORN siete bieloruská držiteľka Nobelovej ceny Svetlana Aleksievič, Turkyňa Asli Erdogan, ktorá mala rezidenciu v Krakove, bola krátko väznená aj potom, čo sa vrátila a začala tvoriť. A marocká spisovateľka Zineb Al-Razzoui, ktorá bola rezidentkou v Ljubljane a predtým, ako začala pracovať pre Charlie Hebdo a vlastne bola tou šťastlivkyňou, ktorá prežila útok na Charlie Hebdo.
Helge, what do you expect from Bratislava as a new member city? Helge, čo očakávate od Bratislavy ako nového člena medzinárodnej siete ICORN?
Thank you. We have learned to know Bratislava already. We have been visiting Bratislava and also some of our writers and artists already, and we know through the visits, we already know that your city cares a lot for human rights, freedom of expression, and for persecuted writers and artists. We look very much forward to get you in as a proper member of ICORN and believe that you can play an important role in the network. The values of democracy and human rights are under attack all over the world, but also in Central and Eastern Europe, and it's very important that cities steps up and show that there is an alternative to populism, discrimination, and xenophobia. So this is some of the reasons why we really much want to welcome, and we're looking forward to welcoming Bratislava to become a member of ICORN.
Áno, takže už Helge samozrejme s ostatnými z ICORN aj s ich autormi a autorkami už navštívili Bratislavu a poznajú ju a sú radi, že práve Bratislava je mestom, ktorý podporuje hodnoty demokracie a ľudských práv, ktoré sú ohrozené po celom svete, ale takisto aj v strednej a východnej Európe. Je veľmi dôležité, že sa vlastne mestá vymedzia a ukážu, že existujú alternatívy k populizmu, diskriminácii a xenofóbii. Takže sa veľmi teší, že Bratislava sa stane jednou z nich.
Helge, maybe last question. How do you see the current developments in the world? Will ICORN be relevant also in the future? Helge, možno posledná otázka na vás. Ako vidíte vývoj vo svete a či si myslíte teda, že bude relevantný ICORN aj v budúcnosti?
The world does not seem to go in the right direction at the moment. The space for civil society, for freedom of expression is shrinking, and the importance of for organizations and initiatives like ICORN, I think, is really growing. But with so many cities stepping forward to protect and promote persecuted rights and artists, I think there is hope that we can together one day see a better, more solidaric and more welcoming world. So I really do welcome the city of Bratislava to take part in this club, in this hub of cities that concretely are working to improve, to make a better world.
Thank you, Helge.
Áno, takže svet vyzerá, že nejde úplne správnym smerom a tým pádom dôležitosť entít ako ICORN rastie, pretože priestor pre slobodu prejavu sa pomerne zvenšuje. Ale s toľkými mestami, ktoré sa vymedzujú, ochraňujú a propagujú prenasledovaných autorov a umelcov, je tu nádej, že sa v jednom bode budeme vidieť solidárnejší, otvorenejší svet. A veľmi víta, že Bratislava bude súčasťou tejto skupiny.
Thank you, Helge, for all your answers. Please stay with us. We will give a word to our mayor of Bratislava. Dôležitým partnerom vstupu do siete ICORN je už vlastne toľkokrát spomínaná Bratislava, ktorá v mene vlastne ktorej sa prihovorí teda primátor mesta Bratislava Matúš Vallo. Ja by som možno poprosil o video.
O pár dní si budeme pripomínať ďalšie výročie nežnej revolúcie. Medzi najhlasnejších kritikov bývalého režimu patrili umelci či filozofi a práve dnes si pripomíname Deň väznených spisovateľov. Pretože na svete je ešte stále mnoho krajín, v ktorých sa kritické názory netolerujú a umelci či novinári sú v nich umlčiavaní, prenasledovaní či dokonca zatýkaní. Ja osobne mám k nim úctu, mám úctu k našej vlastnej histórii a preto si myslím, že ich osud by nám nemal byť ľahostajný. Som rád, že môžem práve dnes oznámiť, že už onedlho Bratislava vstúpi do medzinárodnej siete ICORN, ktorá združuje mesta po celom svete ochotné načas prichyliť prenasledovaných spisovateľov a umelcov. Na tejto iniciatíve budeme spolupracovať s občianskym združením literarnyklub.sk a Nadáciou Milana Šimečku, ktoré pripravili aj 4. ročník festivalu Přes, práh. Prajem vám preto príjemné sledovanie dnešného programu a teším sa, keď vám budeme môcť predstaviť prvého umelca, ktorému Bratislava poskytne ochranu a zázemie pre tvorbu.
Ďakujeme krásne primátorovi mesta Bratislava Matúšovi Vallovi, že tak symbolicky teda nás privítal teda v sieti ICORN. Ja by som možno v tomto momente predstavil možno program, čo nás čaká. Nasledujúcich teda 8 hodín privítame, budeme sa teda rozprávať o knihe Bytová revolta, jak ženy delali Disent. Moderovať diskusiu bude Sonia Garfášová. A pretože si myslíme teda, že ženy zohrali takisto nesmierne dôležitú úlohu v Disente, aj keď možno ich úloha sa dlho nebola tak viditeľná. Pozvanie takisto prijal spisovateľ Ján Novák, ktorý možno poslednú dobu bol viditeľný práve vďaka knihe o Kunderovi ale na jeho konte sa teda môžeme nájsť aj iné tituly, povedzme komiks s Jaromírom 99 Zátopek, respektíve úplne najnovší o Viere Čáslavskej. A už spomínané divadlo teda Václava Havla Audiencie, ktoré špeciálne pre túto príležitosť natočilo pražské bytové divadlo All Stars. Daňa Horáková napísala a takisto napísala knihu o Pavlovi, čo bol jej partner Pavol Juráček. A takisto zohrala nesmierne dôležitú úlohu v Disente. Spolu s Václavom Havlom zakladala edíciu Expedice a na svojom byte usporadovala takisto bytové semináre, respektíve salóny. Spomínaný program o Šimečkovi so Šimečkom a mladším a takisto záznam koncertu Bez ľadu a skladu, ktorý uvedieme rozhovorom s frontmanom tejto skupiny legendárnej a takisto aj v 80. rokoch a takisto určite spomenú, ako hrávali teda na rôznejších miestach, napríklad na Hrádečku Václava Havla.
Áno, takže momentálne následuje už v rámci nášho bloku Disent vtedy a dnes anglický blok. Sme veľmi vďační, že na festival prijali pozvanie traja ICORN umelci a umelkyne, ktoré sa nám postupne predstavia. Takže najskôr si vypočujeme básne Fatmeh Ektesári, ktoré bude vo farsi. A potom sa bude naživo rozprávať redaktor denníka N. Mirek Toda so Zamírou Abbasovou, ktorá je azerbajdžanskou novinárkou. Fatmeh Ektesári je iránska poetka, ktorý bude v angličtine. A napokon sa nám prostredníctvom svojich karikatúr predstaví Manan Nejestani, ktorý je iránskym karikaturistom. Takisto sa nám prihovorí kratučko v angličtine. A ak by ste mali záujem, veríme, že teda v angličtine to väčšina našich divákov a diváčok zvládne. A samozrejme budete si vedieť pozrieť tento záznam neskôr aj so slovenskými titulkami. Helge, thank you very much for this interesting introduction, actually. We are looking forward to our cooperation. It was very interesting to hear the important messages of ICORN Network, and we are looking forward that we are going to be part of ICORN together with the city of Bratislava.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Helge, to being with us. Festival samotný Přes, práh, tak ako každý rok, sa nedá organizovať bez našich partnerov. Tento ročník sme pripravili v spolupráci s Nadáciou Milana Šimečku. Ja dúfam, že sa takisto pripoja k nám aj počas budúcich ročníkov. Ale takisto sú to aj naši donory. Festival, hlavným teda partnerom festivalu je Fond na podporu umenia. A samozrejme už spomínaný projekt EMCA, podpora migrantov prostredníctvom kultúrnych aktivít financovaného z grantov EHP 2014 a 2021 a zo štátneho rozpočtu Slovenskej republiky. Partnery podujatia sú takisto České literárne centrum a České centrum v Bratislave. Takže ja v tomto momente vám želám len príjemné sledovanie a dúfam, že budete s nami čo najdlhšie.
Prajeme krásne nedeľné pozeranie.
Hi everybody, my name is Fateme. I'm an Iranian poet and writer. I'm 34 years old and I started my professional activity in literature when I was 18 years old. I've published 3 poetry collections in Iran and 7 more books. Poetry collections, short story collections, story, novel in exile. The last one was Is, a bilingual book, Persian and Norwegian. Poetry collection which released recently. In 2013, I was arrested because of my artistic activities, some articles and poems that I had written, and then I was in confinement solitary for 38 days, and then I released on bail, and then later I sentenced 11.5 years in prison and 99 lashes just because of writing in some accusations, some such as blasphemy, propaganda against government, and shaking hands with the opposite sex. So in a short time that I must return to prison, I fled Iran illegally and crossed the border to Turkey. After living in Turkey for 1.5 years, I came to Norway at invitation of ICORN. ICORN is an organization who helps the artists who are in danger and find some safe places for them. I've been in your country, in Slovakia, in Bratislava festival almost 2 years ago, and it was a great experience. I mean, the enthusiasm at the festival, the audiences who really loved poetry, the beautiful Danube River, and the sunshine. Oh, I really miss sunshine. I've been living in Lillehammer since 2017. Lillehammer is a small city in Norway, and in this time of the year, the outside is dark at 3 p.m. So I really miss the scorching sun. I wanna read some poems for you, and if you ask me what's your poems about, I really don't have any exact answer for you, because I write in different subjects, and the subjects, the topics doesn't they are not mentioned in the poems directly, so but I hope you enjoy. با جیغ بی صدای کسی توی خواب ها، من سال هاست قاطی این اضطراب ها. چیزی نگو، نخواه، نپرس از جواب ها، نگذار دستشان برسد به کتاب ها. دارند میبرند مرا، آه فاطمه. این سایه های رد شده از کوچه کیستند؟ دنبال اسم کوچک کی توی لیستند؟ لطفاً بگو که منتظر من نایستند، اینها که محرم تو این خانه نیستند. دارند میبرند مرا، آه فاطمه. از لابلای چادر مادر، کت پدر، از عکس های بچگیم، چشم های تر، از خاطرات در بغلت، گیج قوطه ور هی می کشند پیرهنم را به سمت در. دارند میبرند مرا، آه فاطمه. نگذار حس کنند تو ترس توت را، نگذار بشنوند صدا یا که بوت را. از من نخواه خواب نبینم سقوط را. دارند میبرند مرا، آه فاطمه. در گریه مثل ماهی گیجی، شناوری، آهسته موی وحشیت از زیر روسری، یک لحظه بیست، تکان نخور. میخواهم در ذهنم حفظت کنم، میدانم میایی و یک روز از این شکنجه مرا در میآوری. دارند میبرند مرا، آه فاطمه، از روزهای دلهره در انتظارمی. مثل دو چشم خیره به در بیقرارمی، زنجیر موی بافته راه فرارمی. حس می کنم همیشه تر از هر کنارمی. دارند میبرند مرا، آه فاطمه. And the next one. دست من را بگیر. میگیرم. این همان دست بود. خب باشد. باز امشب زنی کتک خورده، روی مغزم اسید می پاشد. همه در حال تجزیه شدنند، خاطرات نوازش و آغوش، دیدن فیلم دست در دستت. برق را می کند کسی خاموش. بعد تاریک می شود صحنه، بعد تنها صدای جیغ زن است. گریه کن، گریه کن، بلند بلند. سینما نیست، زندگی من است. جای سیلیست یا که بوسه تو. گونه هایم هنوز می سوزد. لب این شعر را پر از تردید، یک نفر در سکوت می بوسد. چشمهایم هنوز خیره به سقف، بالشم مثل ساحل خزر است. توی خوابم زنیست که امشب چمدان بسته راهی سفر است. موج بر روی موج می لغزد، باز هم موقع هماغوشی است. دست من را بگیر. میگیرم. روبرو دره فراموشی است. And once more. ما در اتاق اول دنیا، به گرمی و رطوبت واژن. لبها کنار گردن هم بود، شمعی کنار تخت تو روشن. بوی عرق، صدای نفسها، تنها زبان بدن بود. انسان اولیه تاریخ مشغول در تو جیغ زدن بود. ما در اتاق دوم دنیا درگیر بحث بر سر جنگی، با جمله های ساخته از خون، پرتاب مشت و بارش سنگی. مثل سلاح سرد نشستی، یک گوشه گریه دار تر از من. حرفیست در گلو که بخوانیش، بغضیست در فشار تر از من. توی اتاق سوم دنیا، یک زن کنار یک چمدان است. ما نیستیم، هرچه بیفتد یک اتفاق بی هیجان است. من پره هواکش زندان، در حال چرخشم به هوایت. تو یک بلیت یک طرفه به شاید کنار پنجره جایت. ما یک توهم است که مانده، یک گوشه در اتاقک آخر. سیگار نصفه ایست پس از سکس، دو حرف غیر قابل باور. میم و الف ادامه دنیا، تنها 4 اتاقک خالی. میم و الف دو خاطره محو، دنیا 4 اتاقک خالی. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Zamira.
Hello, Mirek.
It's great to have you here at Festival CEZ PRAH. I am Mirek Toda. I'm journalist from Denik N. But most importantly, I'm speaking now with Zamira Abbasova. She is journalist from Azerbaijan, but originally it's from Armenia. It's much more complicated. Almost all her life, she was a refugee. Her family was living in Armenia, but because of the war in Nagorno-Karabakh, about the war you have learned a lot and listened a lot. Recent times, they had to move from Armenia to Azerbaijan. But even though in Azerbaijan it was very complicated and dangerous for Zamira as a journalist, and she had to flee the country. And thanks to ICORN, she was able to find a new life, a new perspective. So we will talk about all of that, but maybe we can start with the beginning. So Zamira, your family was one of the few Azerbaijanis living in Armenia before the war.
Thank you, Mirek. It's a pleasure to be part of the festival. Coming to your question, yes, they were about 250,000 Azerbaijanis living in Armenia at that time, before the conflict has erupted in 1988.
So how it happened when your family had to go away from Armenia? Where from which place they have to escape, and where they go? They go to capital city.
So it was. I remember I was 4 years old. It was late in November. My grandmother woke us up early in the morning. Everyone was crying. Everyone was packing just clothing, food, and then we had to leave in rush within like a couple of hours, basically. And with the mountainous road through the forest between Armenia and Azerbaijan, we had to come to Kalbajar, which is part of the surrounding 7 cities in Nagorno-Karabakh. So we came to Karabakh, and they told us this is the end. No Azerbaijani can return back to Armenia. Our life is in danger. We will be killed if we do not leave within a couple of hours. So yeah, basically we did not even have a choice. We just had to pack and then leave within a couple of hours. We came to Kalbajar. We settled in Kalbajar. One of our family friends has hosted us for a couple of weeks. And then we heard that the Armenians are coming to Kalbajar as well. So we had to leave from Kalbajar to another city called Ardash inside Azerbaijan, in West Azerbaijan. And we just settled with a complete stranger who opened her doors to my family. And we lived with them for about 5 or 6 months until we were able to move to the city called Mingechevir. So it was until March or April of 1989, we were still on the road, basically not knowing if this is the end, if this is not the end, shall we be able to go back home or not? Or yeah, no one was giving information. Everyone was just saying, yeah, it's danger, your life is in danger, you have to run. And back then we left my grandmother behind because we didn't know. There were so many clashes back in the time. It happened in around 1920s, and also it happened again in 48. It happened in 1953. So there were so many times of pushing Azerbaijanis from Armenia and Armenians from Azerbaijan back and forth, that people thought this is one of those times, when they kick us out, after a couple of years we come back. So this is what everyone has thought. No one could ever imagine that this is going to lead to a war, large-scale war that's going to cost life of 20,000 men from both sides, and that's going to last, forever, never-ending hatred. So yeah, this is how we ended up in Azerbaijan as refugees from Armenia.
Yeah. So in 1994, there was a truce. Basically, we can say Armenia won. And Nagorno-Karabakh became de facto the region of controlled by Armenia.
Yeah.
And all Azerbaijanis had to left. But now, what we have seen in last weeks, there was a brutal war again, 44 days. How did you was watching that? What do you thought when it started?
In June this year, there was one very short clash. So we thought, yeah, randomly, the war is never over, right? You know, in the front lines, they're still shooting each other. Every year we have people dying on both sides. Sometimes even civilians get caught in the fire. So we thought, yeah, this is one of those, you know, short clashes that's going to escalate. And then within, you know, 1 or 2 days, the ceasefire will be established again. So it will stop. No one could even imagine that this war could continue for 44 days. It was shock for me. And I was hearing news from both sides, from my Armenian colleagues, from my family is still in Azerbaijan. And my mother's, the town where my mother lives right now, it was bombed for 4 times. And Azerbaijan was in the internet blockade, so we couldn't get any news. What's happening? Are they alive? Are they dead? Why, you know, the civilian cities are being bombed? Okay, the war used to be in the front lines. Why it's moving to the civilian cities? So we couldn't understand what's going on in there. And there wasn't much information being shared from the Azerbaijani side either. All we could hear was Turkish sources, Russian sources, and some Armenian sources, obviously. But complete information blockade from the side of Azerbaijan.
Absolutely, you're completely right. Because, for example, regarding number of deaths, number of how many people have been killed, Azerbaijanis, they never disclosed the toll on civilian sides or on soldier sides. But at least from Armenian side, we got some numbers, and there was assessment by Russian President Putin that around 5,000 people has been killed, but it was a few weeks before the end of the conflict. So maybe the number is much bigger. What do you think about the human toll of this last episode of the war?
Informal numbers are under 10,000 people from both sides. Obviously, no one is sharing the information from the Azerbaijani side. The first, I would say the first 10 days of the war, Azerbaijani side was sharing some numbers, like 2 people here, 3 people there, 7 people there. But they were a bit more transparent about the number of civilians who have been killed, because they were largely sharing what is going on in Berda, in Ganja, in Mingechevir, and Kızı, which is about 30 kilometers away from the capital, Baku. It has been bombed as well. So they were a bit more transparent about the civilian death toll, but not about the soldiers. And unfortunately, we will never know. Sources don't exist. People are scared to share any information. The journalists were not allowed in the front lines to see, to record, you know, to observe. So unfortunately, we will never know how many people have died from the Azerbaijani side. There are a lot of missing persons right now. Families are in despair. They cannot get any information from Ministry of Defense. There is basically nowhere to go. There's only one organization, ICRC, that needs to do a lot of work, like collecting DNA from the families of missing persons and then match it with the soldiers whose bodies have been brought back from the front lines and are still being brought back from the front lines, and see, you know, who's dead, who's alive. Families are in shock. Families are in deep sadness and grief, and they're still mourning their children who have been lost in the war. But yeah, no official information about it. And most of the speeches of the president, Ilham Aliyev, is more celebratory rather than saying how many people we have lost and, you know, this victory, so to speak, it has been brought in, you know, with the death of hundreds and thousands of Azerbaijani young people between the ages of 18 to 28. Yeah, which is very unfortunate, and no one is talking about it. Although Pashinyan has been a bit more emotional and more genuine about his pain of losing so many young people in the war. And you would expect the Azerbaijani president to do the same, but unfortunately we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, and now it looks like that it was pretty well prepared in advance by Aliyev and his allies. Maybe we can say that without the help of Turkey, the military, diplomatic and political, and also with the help of Moscow, which basically gave them green light for the offensive. So it seems that it was a very calculated move from his side. when in Azerbaijan he got a lot of problems because of corruption, because of protests, because of COVID-19 non-effective government policy. So how do you see this cold-blooded planning by him?
I think it was quite a strategic move, right? The West was really busy, especially US, which has been really well involved, especially as part of OSCE Minsk Group, which is a trio that is monitoring the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh, along with France and Russia. They were really busy with elections. Armenia was really busy with reestablishment of democratic government. Everyone was celebrating. It was quite a positive time. No one would ever expect that there could be another war. They caught them unguarded, and also Russia was slowly seeing that democracy in Armenia is pulling Armenia away from Russia. They had such a strong effect on Armenia. Armenia was economically, politically, military-wise, really dependent on Russia. And they could see that with the democracy, there is a danger of Armenia slipping away. And Russia would never allow that. So there was this weird alliance between Azerbaijan and Russia, in a sense that, yes, both of us want something, and both of us want weak Armenia. Russia doesn't want Armenia to slip away, and Azerbaijan does not want to see a stronger democratic Armenia in the neighborhood. That is really bad for the local politics and his ultimate power over Azerbaijani governance. And also, it's a high time to get the lands back, because people are demanding it. You could see the sentiments of people when they all, were in the streets demanding government to give them arms so that they go back to Karabakh and fight for their land. So you could see that the situation was right, and at the same time, strategically, it was the right time to maintain the war in this caliber, to take the lands back, basically.
So now we have Nagorno-Karabakh split in two parts, Armenian and Azerbaijani. Can we even say that this republic, so-called republic, will exist anymore? Because it looks like it's the end.
It definitely looks like the end. From one hand, you can say this could be a start of coexistence in a very long run. Obviously, there needs to be a lot of work, a lot of reconciliation work, a lot of demilitarization work, a lot of rehabilitation, trust building between the parties who are going to have to live together. And at the same time, yes, obviously, it will have to be the end of Nagorno-Karabakh de facto independent republic. It will have to be metamorphosed into something that both parties can have a little bit of it to be content.
Yeah. And Aliyev, he is now a hero. Nobody cares about his problems now in Azerbaijan, I suppose. That his power will be much more cemented. Yes,
definitely. Before the conflict, before the war has erupted, the journalists, human rights defenders, a lot of people were still, ready to flood to the streets and demand democracy, fair elections and all of that, those kinds of things. And what we observed with the war, that everyone got completely rallied around President Aliyev, because he was the leader, he was the one who was leading the war, he was behind the whole operation, and he was their savior, basically, to bring Karabakh back. And for that, they were able to leave their perspective aside, perspective for the justice, perspective for fair elections, for human rights, for freedom of speech, await for the end of the war. You can slowly see in the social media that they are, coming out of this euphoric momentum and slowly realizing that, with this war, with this victory, that might mean that Aliyev will never leave. Or it could mean that Aliyev just wanted to do one more thing for the country and then leave the power. No one knows what's going to happen right now. It's such a weird situation that you cannot predict anything anymore. All the analysts are in dismay. All the political projections have not fulfilled itself, and nobody knows what's going to happen. Does it mean that we have let Russia in, so leave Aliyev alone? We are going to be under Putin or not, because Azerbaijan has fought so hard in early 1990s to maintain the independence, get their independence from the Soviet army. We fought the Russian army basically inside Baku, and all of a sudden Russian army is back to Karabakh, right in the middle of Azerbaijan. People are not trusting that situation. So we are not, leave alone the democracy, we are not even sure if we're going to survive the next 5 years under the Russian enforcement, so-called peacekeepers in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, you're completely right. Like regarding the perspective, democratic perspective in the South Caucasus region, it doesn't look very good. As you mentioned, there is a pressure on Pashinyan, the leader of Armenia, who became prime minister after big protest and unexpectedly was elected as a leader, which Moscow absolutely doesn't like. And there is just Georgia now, and there is a worry that there will be thousands of Russian soldiers just, very close to this country. So I think we have to be very vigilant and take care about these people, because they are, I would say Georgians are completely pro-European, but they have a problem that they are very far away from West, and West doesn't care a lot.
Yeah, Azerbaijan was the only country that the Russian army was not close enough. But now that endangers Georgia as well, in terms of Russian armies in South Ossetia, in Abkhazia, again in the form of peacekeepers, and now inside Azerbaijan. So from 4 sides, Georgia is surrounded by Russian army. There's a base in Armenia. Now there's going to be a base in Azerbaijan, even if it's called a peacekeepers mission. There is a base in South Ossetia and Abkhazia. So that might mean a lot of red alert for Georgia and for Georgians. I think Europe cannot stay silent anymore. They were, even during the whole 44-day war, we did not really see strong reaction from European Union to see how much danger it is, Russia's interest to Azerbaijan and the war itself in general to the democracy in Armenia, how much danger it is to South Caucasus, and Europe didn't move a finger, unfortunately, to maintain the safety of all these people. So the trust to West is lost. Hopefully, they understand how dangerous the situation it is in Georgia at this point. And to help Georgia, that should be the case. They should realize that this is a high risk for Georgian democracy.
Yeah, and another worrying sign is the Turkey role.
Yeah.
Now there is a corridor which will go through Azerbaijan, through Armenia to Nakhichevan, and it will open the first time the land route from Turkey to Azerbaijan. Is it important for them?
Yes, of course, it is important. Well, first of all, it was important for Azerbaijan to have a connection back between Nakhchivan and Azerbaijan, because Nakhchivan has been landlocked as well. We couldn't have better economic relationship with Nakhchivan. They couldn't benefit from anything. We had to only fly there and back. So from that perspective, yes, it is the end of Nakhchivan economic blockade, and they can be more free. Culture-wise, they can reintegrate back to Azerbaijani mainland, and also have direct contact with the Turkey, whilst we had to use Georgia as a connection between Azerbaijan and Turkey. The BTC pipeline, Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, is one example of that. We couldn't have direct pipeline to Turkey, so it had to go through Georgia. Obviously, it benefited Georgia, it benefited all of us. But now it means that we'll have a bit more stronger relationship with Turkey, stronger economic relationship with Turkey. Not sure what that means for Armenia. Obviously, the feelings of genocide are still fresh, and the fact that Turkey is still rejecting the repercussions for the Armenian genocide, it means a lot of insecurity for Armenians. And we saw it during the 44 they were saying this war endangers the Armenian nationhood. So Armenian nationhood, not only in Karabakh, but with the participation of Turkey, they saw the whole danger for the Armenian identity being swiped away with the engagement of Turkey, basically.
Yeah, like when we are watching this conflict with eyes, Armenian eyes, they are now completely losers. It's so sad because not because of the status of Karabakh. It was always disputed, but as you said, because of the threat, and now they are completely under protection of Russia. So imagine people who wants to be just independent, who just wants to live in the country which is not affected by other country, but they can choose their own path without any foreign pressure. But now I think it's over. They're completely under pressure of Russia now.
That might, well, in the last couple of years, we have seen some normalization between Armenian and Turkish relationship. The number of people moving from Armenia to Turkey to seek education, to seek jobs, that has been steadily growing. So that might mean more normalized relationship for the future of Armenian and the Turkish relationship. Especially in past, there were a lot of conversations to open the border between Armenia and Turkey, and because of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, they could not open. Azerbaijani people and Azerbaijani government was in strict opposition that unless Karabakh is back within Azerbaijan, Turkey cannot open the borderline between Armenia. So now that the conflict might find its solution finally, that might mean the border could open between Armenia and Turkey again. But the Turkey's participation in the Nagorno-Karabakh war, supporting Azerbaijan with arms and military strategy and etc., that one more time proved to Armenia that they cannot trust Turkey yet. From one side, yes, they will open the border and they will start reintegrating into Armenia, and from another side, they are still supporting Azerbaijan, so they cannot be trusted. And plus, the genocide sentiment, and the traumas of Armenians all over the world. So it is really complicated at the moment with the Turkish involvement, with the Russia's involvement, and no one is sure, no one is secure within their own houses. So unless the situation around Azerbaijan and Armenia strategically resolve, none of these people will be safe, even within the ceasefire deal. That is not even static deal. It constantly changes, and it will probably change in the next 5 years while Russian peacekeepers are still in Nagorno-Karabakh. So it does not leave people with the sense of security in none of these countries, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's go back to you and talk a little bit about your efforts there. Because when we are talking about the war, it's pretty important to say that what you've been trying there, that you established a peace-building radio there. It's amazing that you connect with Armenians, with Georgians, like how it happened, and how you were able to make it.
I wasn't always a journalist. By background, I'm a post-war rehabilitation specialist. I was a mediator between the conflict parties, between Georgians and Abkhazians, Georgians and Ossetians, Russian Armenian, Turkish Armenian, Russian Ukrainian. And obviously, I was involved in mediating between different layers of society, between Armenians and Azerbaijanis, with organizations called Tekali Association and also Imagine Center for Conflict Transformation, being my last job in Georgia. So I was mediating between different kinds of groups of Armenians, casually, formally, informally, depending on what the job required. And there was this time when I realized we, the peace builders, do not have any voice in the media. So we cannot speak what's going on. We cannot speak that peace is possible. We cannot say that, hey, there are friendships between Armenians and Azerbaijanis, and they are positive examples to lead a positive change between our relationships. Or if the peace builders were under prosecution from either from Armenia or from Azerbaijan, we couldn't speak about it because no media would publish it. It was a blockade for us. We did not have any access to the media. And we had to do something about it. And when I started my job with the Imagine Center for Conflict Transformation, we had an amazing project called Microwave FM. It was supported by Swedish government and Source Fabric. It's a beautiful organization based in Prague. They created a radio project for activists from Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Abkhazia was also involved, through online radio to reach their voices to the rest of the population, do their activism, be it gender, be it peace, be it human rights, be it regularly anything about education, about healthcare, about environmental activism. So we were teaching youth from all of these countries to start their own radio stations. It was a great project. It was amazing. We brought so many youth together. We taught them, what the perks of radio work, and it was lovely to hear their voices over the airtime. But then we realized, hey, we have access to media now. We can, openly speak, but we are not doing it in the form of a dialogue. Why don't we create a radio station and have live talk shows between Armenians, Azerbaijanis, and Georgians, and we speak about every aspect of life in South Caucasus, without not only the conflict, but about love, about cities, about architecture, about anything that people are really interested to hear about each other. There is this invisible wall between countries. We don't hear about them. We don't want to hear about them. We have our perception of Armenian person. We have our perception of Azerbaijani person. Almost both of them imagine each other like monsters. Why don't we start talking to each other? Lead by example. So every Tuesday and Thursday, we had live shows with one DJ from Armenia, one DJ from Azerbaijan, and one DJ from Georgia. And it was amazing work for about 2 years that we're talking about every aspect of life. We had great guests who were sharing their opinion, and we were airing music from Armenia, music from Azerbaijan, music from Georgia. That was a lovely exchange until it could not happen anymore.
Yeah, so let's talk about it, because you got a trouble, you got problems with your own government, because normally you should be rewarded. Like it's a great that you tries to make two enemies together and to try live normally. But instead of reward, you had to escape. So
Yes.
tell us how it happened. How the problem started.
For me, the history started a long time ago. I was working for an American organization, and back then, anyone who was working in a diplomatic organization as such was tagged to basically as a threat to the national security, that we are being spies, we are spying on Azerbaijani government and passing information to American security agencies. Back then I was tagged, I was invited to the Ministry of National Security to discuss my work, to see how I can participate in their work, and I rejected that work. And since then I've been a tag to be observed and harassed. I always had people walking behind my back. I was constantly feeling under the watch. And my peace work, after I came back from US, I started actively participating in the peace initiatives, and also initiating dialogues between Armenians and Azerbaijanis, and that did not help either. That was another layer of security threat for the Azerbaijani government. Whoever works with the Armenians are under close watch, and I didn't want to be under close watch, and I rejected being interviewed, interrogated by the national security agencies, and that did not give any positive results. I was being harassed, I was being followed everywhere I was going. My phone was tapped, my house was tapped. I was under a lot of pressure, not only from the state agencies, but the activist community, as well as my family was feeling pressured by the national security in their region where they were living. So there were a lot of these things that were coming on top of each other, and I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't function anymore, and I couldn't live there anymore under all of these. And I was On my last meeting with the National Security Agency, they said, I'm being accused of spying to two different governments, American government and Armenian government, obviously, because I was working with so many Armenians within my peace work that they thought, I'm. And these neurotic, I would say, anxieties of Azerbaijani government, they were always there, but they became even worse starting from 2012. They actively started shutting down the civil society, all the NGOs, international organizations. They were shut down. The members of the organization were prosecuted. Their bank accounts were arrested. Active layer of society, journalists, human rights advocates, lawyers, they all left the country. They could not face the prosecutions anymore. They couldn't endure it anymore. So it was a massive attack on the human rights community in Azerbaijan. So people had to leave, and I had to leave. Unfortunately, in 2015, I moved to Georgia, and I continued my peace work in Georgia until I could not anymore. In 2017, Azerbaijan had an agreement with Georgian National Security on spotting us in Georgia and pushing us back to Azerbaijan. There was a basically agreed list of people who were actively working in Georgia, Azerbaijani community working in Georgia, and they were tagged. There was an article published in a propaganda media in Azerbaijan. Even my home address was exposed in there, that Zamira Abbasova living in this address in Tbilisi has hostile feelings against Azerbaijani government. And people started showing up at my door, just observing, taking photos, taking videos, following me to places. And while I was in Bosnia in a media conference, I received a call from my colleagues in Georgia that my house has been attacked by Georgian national security, people wearing all black in a military form. They were searching for me. They said, I'm a terrorist. I have to be returned to Azerbaijan and all of those things. And I could not return even to Georgia. And shortly after, everyone who was in that list started being harassed by the Georgian security organs. And even one journalist, Afgan Mukhtarli, was kidnapped by Azerbaijani security agencies inside Georgia and illegally taken over the border back to Azerbaijan to be prosecuted. All of us were basically supposed to be kidnapped like that and returned to Azerbaijan. And luckily I wasn't there. I was in Bosnia. And after that, I just could not return anymore to even Georgia. Georgian government did start investigation, how it happened, why it happened. But obviously there was no conclusion. And they did not take the responsibility that this was organized extradition of Azerbaijani peace builders and human rights community back to Azerbaijan.
And that's the moment, I think, when ICORN came and helped you to live a decent life in Europe.
Yes, obviously, I did not have any more visa to stay anywhere. I could not return to Georgia. Turkey was not an option anymore. So I applied for ICORN to be basically to find the safety for a bit longer period where I can stay safe, work safe, and recover from what has been going on from in my country and in Georgia. And luckily, City Leiden in the Netherlands stepped up and invited me to be their first fellow from ICORN. They are also new in the ICORN community, so I was their first fellow, and it was an amazing experience. I'm still in Leiden, and I'm still working very closely with the Leiden municipality on creating resources for the exiled journalists in the Netherlands. And if not ICORN, I don't know what I would do. It is a beautiful organization to have our backs, basically, if we are in trouble like that. It is amazing to know that there are cities in the world who are signing up to an ICORN network to host people like me, writers, journalists, actors, poets, bloggers who cannot speak up and who cannot do their jobs in their own countries, to be safe for a little longer and do their jobs and recover from all the pain that has been caused to them. And
Yeah,
Bratislava is joining this community. It is amazing to know that more cities are joining the network. And it is lovely to know that, more people, thousands of people, across the world who are in need of safe space. You and many other cities are right there to help us.
yeah, I'm very happy that Bratislava is joining the club, and I can't wait who will be the guy who will come here.
Yep.
So Bratislava, I hope it will be great experience for our city, and also for somebody who will come and will help the guy. Maybe you can tell us more about ICORN. ICORN, maybe others who received help, and you are somehow also involved in the organization, right?
Yes, of course. A couple of friends have already been ICORN residents. Günel Mevlut, Azerbaijani poet and writer. She was ICORN guest in Norway. So I heard it from her, basically. This is also a great thing to know, that people know each other. Even if you don't know the ICORN network as an organization who can help you, there is someone to always guide you towards ICORN, that, hey, there is an amazing organization as such and can help you to find space for the meantime while you're still, figuring out your life. And Günel was part of the network, still an active part of the network. And it's lovely to know that, both of us are here now to help other people to find, safe harbor within the ICORN network.
Yeah, so we have space for 2 questions. So I would like to ask you that what is now the mood among other journalists in Azerbaijan? Are there still some independent journalists?
There are very few. They do still work with some international media, like Radio Free Europe has some journalists working in the country. Some other international media, 1 or 2 people. The rest of them are basically starving. There are no jobs. Locally, they cannot be hired because they are tagged as opposition media, opposition journalists, and no local media gives them jobs. And they cannot even work in there because the political views are not matching up. Lately, during the war, they were in information blockade. They couldn't report, they couldn't work, they couldn't do their jobs. They couldn't get the license to go to the front lines. And there are so many journalists who are still waiting, a chance to go and objectively record what is going on in Nagorno-Karabakh. A lot of people jobless, basically, no opportunities. They cannot register their own organizations inside Azerbaijan. The civil law that allows you to register as an NGO or as a media organization is not allowed since 2012. So many of these people are just in the air waiting for one day there will be an opportunity for them to thrive, to write, to publish. We are constantly asking for media to hire correspondents from Azerbaijan to give them a chance to speak up, to thrive, to share what's going on inside the country. And it's really hard without these foreign opportunities inside the country, as they can't do their jobs. They are being arrested, they are being harassed, their equipments are being taken away by police, by security agency employees, and never returned. So these people cannot even afford to buy another equipment, to do their jobs properly.
Yeah.
This is how hard the situation is.
Yeah, so it's very difficult and challenging. And my last question is maybe important for us in the West, that how we should deal with the government in Baku. They were for many years very successful in this oil diplomacy. It's a rich country because it has oil, it has gas, and it uses it in a business in politics. What do you think? Should we in Europe connect human rights in Azerbaijan when we are dealing, for example, with oil and other stuff and other politics? Should we put it on the table when we talk with them?
Ideally, yes. In past, when we had situations like when human rights advocates or lawyers or journalists were being arrested, We were doing heavy advocacy with the EU government, and at some point they just stopped as well. There couldn't be any push point because we already have oil and gas agreements. Azerbaijan is providing Europe, some parts of Europe with gas and oil, and that just pushes EU government and other officials who can have a voice in changing the situation to shut up and not object what is going on inside Azerbaijan. So, okay, we receive cheap oil and gas, and then we don't say anything. It's that serious at the moment. Yes, obviously that should be part of the push point. Okay, so if we are buying gas and oil from you, maybe you should improve your civil society situation a little bit, and then have a little bit of a gap and some freedom to the human rights activists and journalists to function, so that we both know that we are helping each other in some way. But that push point is not there, unfortunately, and not anymore. It used to be there, but not anymore, which is a sad fact. It is really good question, but it's so hard at the moment to enter the country. Foreign journalists are not able to enter Azerbaijan that freely. It's really hard to enter the country. If you are tagged as a human rights advocate and who have been actively speaking about lack of freedom of speech in Azerbaijan, these people are tagged in the visa centers, so they cannot enter the country. It's really hard. So what we say to foreign governments that, yes, please put us on the table when you are negotiating with Azerbaijani government on other aspects of work, cooperation, be it strategic, be it military, be it business, be it whatever. Put us on the table, make us, legitimate that we need help, and that help in a form of a push should come from you. And also, yes, continues to give a voice to Azerbaijanis who are still inside the country and who do not have any opportunities to speak up. Give them a voice, give them opportunities, and help these people to find some form of self-realization while being, locked inside Azerbaijan in that way. Many people cannot even travel. They have ban on their passports. So there used to be the times when, there were so many conferences and seminars, we could all travel, talk, cooperate, but now they can't even travel. So by using digital media at the moment, all of us can help Azerbaijani journalists and human rights activists one way or the other, but there needs to be a will from our side to do that.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Zamira. It was great to talk to you. I'm sure that all of us are keeping fingers crossed that it will be better there. And I hope we will talk a lot openly about the situation there, and we will not forget, and we will raise attention. And thanks very much for the festival, CEZ PRAH, that it's here, and it making such efforts to show that it's important to help people. Like this ICORN initiative is great. So my last sentence is just that next, after this talk is Iranian cartoonist Mana Nayastani from Iran. So let's enjoy his cartoons, and thank you.
Thank you, Merrick.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you. Thanks for having me here. It's very nice to meet you, although it's virtual way, in a virtual way, not in face-to-face. Hope to see a time that we could see each other, really meet each other in a real place, not virtually. My name is Mana Nayastani. I'm a cartoonist, editorial cartoonist mostly, and caricaturist, and also graphic novelist. I'm living in Paris, in France, since 2012. I was born in Tehran. I'm Iranian. I'm from capital of Iran, Tehran. And then I was born in 1973, so I'm almost 47, 48 years. And I started to draw cartoons since I was 16. I started to publish my cartoons. I started to draw before that. When I was child, I started to draw, but when I was 16, my first illustration had been published in a magazine, and I became a cartoonist and kind of illustrator, drawer, and I continued. I accepted as a student of architecture, designing and engineering in something around, I think it was 1998, 1999 probably, and I graduated in master degree, but I never practiced my major, architecture engineering. I prefer to be a cartoonist, and I was, at the same time I was a cartoonist. So I continued. Right now I'm cartoonist as well, even when I left my country. And why I left my country is a long story with a lot of details. I put some details and the story in a graphic novel, an autobiographical graphic novel that I made in 2012. It was published in France and translated different languages like English, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and recently Turkish. So I'm happy with the book. It's called an Iranian metamorphosis, and it's about me and what happened to me in 2006 caused me leave my country. Actually, I was working for a children's section of a magazine in that time, and I did an illustration for a text that I wrote myself, that text, and unfortunately some misinterpretation happened. Some minorities of Iran, ethnical minority of Iran called Azeri people or Turkish people of Iran took that cartoon illustration as kind of racist joke, something like that. I think it became a pretext for them to come to streets and show their anger toward the authority, the central authority, actually. Anyway, the government put me in jail, and after 3 months spending in jail, they released me for a short time. I had to go back to jail after 1 month, but I used that short time to leave my country with my wife, and since then I'm far from my country, Iran. I spent something about 4 years, yes, 4 years in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Then I asked for help from some organizations, human rights organizations, and one of them was ICORN, which helped me in 2011, around 2011, and they accepted me as a candidate. And after a while, Paris showed interest to have me as its first guest of ICORN. So I invited by Paris City Hall and spent 1 year, and then I extended to another year. So I spent 2 years with ICORN, and still I'm friend with the people in ICORN. I have in contact sometimes, although I'm not a socializing person. Anyway, yes, that was my story, and it's very detailed story. If you really want to know, if you would like to know about the details of a story, I recommend you to read the graphic novel. It helped you. And as I said before, right now I'm in Paris in the quarantine era. So actually I'm in the house and I spend my time in internet land, my real country right now is internet land. And I'm still drawing cartoons about my country. I'm working for online magazines, which are mostly Iranian, opposite Iranian, so they published out of Iran, not in Iran, of course. And I'm still working about Iran issues nowadays. Also, I'm working on my graphic novel projects. The recent one just published. It's called 3 Hours and it's in French. And this is my whole story. And again, I'm very happy that I'm with you.